You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
This is Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We've been broadcasting from the Concierge Landscape Studios, and we're brought to you by Extreme Exteriors and American Family Insurance, the Kim Bennett Agency. Let's hear now from the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. The MHA Minute is brought to you by Pest Control Services. When you need an exterminator, you need someone reliable and effective. So give Greg Keener a call at Pest Control Services. His number is 952-894-9748. Pest Control Services is a proud member of Angie's List and also a member of the Minnesota Multi-Housing Association. Call Pest Control Services 952-894-9748 and tell Greg that Gene and Tony sent you.
When you rent out your home, you automatically become a small business owner and are subject to all kinds of rules and regulations. Fair housing laws, rental licensing, CRPs, lead paint, radon, carbon dioxide, just to name a few. As someone who provides rental housing, you'll have to learn more about your community, your city council, and your law enforcement agencies than you ever imagined. But if you properly manage your business, you'll also become an important and positive partner in the community. The Minnesota Multi-Housing Association is the most comprehensive resource you'll find for everything you need to help you successfully manage your rental business. Visit mmha.com. That's two M's, mmha.com. Look around the website, download the free guide to successful property management, download the free brochure about the eviction process, and learn about the many ways you can turn your small business into a good business.
So we've been discussing a story from St. Louis, Missouri, about a board member who was kicked off the board by the other members and sued to regain his seat.
That's right.
How is it possible for a board to decide to kick out one of its members?
Yeah, and it is something that every association must take a solid look at their governing documents. That is the place they need to go to because, usually people refer to the governing documents as the bylaws.
Right. Yeah, they call the whole thing the bylaws.
The whole thing the bylaws, but
Yeah.
we know that the bylaws is just one specific segment. The bylaws would be the place to go to deal with here because the bylaws deals with the rules, the conduct, the policy of homeowners with other homeowners, homeowners with the elected members on the board of directors, the board of directors, and their limited power and authority. And it talks about how everything should go.
How it operates.
That's
how
right.
many board meetings you have to have in a year. How many board members are allowed on the board. How they're elected. How meetings are held. All the nuts and bolts.
And in this particular case, with this association, the Brentwood Forest Condominium Association, they failed to recognize how limiting their powers were in accordance with the governing documents. Usually, but it's no surprise. A lot of people are at an annual meeting. Of course, the association will gather, and one of their primary things that they're charged with is to vote on people who will serve on the board of directors.
To elect new board members.
Yes. Once that is established and you have that 5-member board or however many that is stated in your governing documents, those people that are on the board have the responsibility, not the homeowners, at being able to vote and elect who's going to be the president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, all of the executive positions.
So the board elects its own officers.
And generally speaking, a board has the authority to take someone out of their executive position. So if the board did not like Mr. Bierman as president, and he was the president of the association, they had the authority only to remove him as president, but he would
with
stay.
Just a board decision, a majority of the board voting on that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in this particular case, everybody on the board did decide that they wanted Mr. Bierman off, but they went one step too far. They said, you need to get off of the board entirely. And people need to remember that the body that is responsible for the election of someone is the only one that you can turn to for its removal.
Yeah.
And so, there are extenuating circumstances that we know of, right? There will be provisions for board members to remove someone from the board for, let's say, not attending board meetings.
Yeah.
We've seen
That's
that.
the one we've seen that I've seen most often, really, is the only reason that a board could kick someone completely off the board, and that is because they failed to make 3 board meetings in a year. But
again, that's only because the people in the association, they gave limited powers and authority to the board to do that for that instance and that instance only. Right. What the board should have done in this particular case is they should have taken it to the homeowners,
to all the members,
to all the homeowners, and because they didn't, Mr. Bierman said, "You're now stepping outside of your authority," and so he brought in an attorney and sued, and of course he was reinstated because that was exactly how the governing documents in their association were written. They did not have the authority to remove him from the board. And so he was back on the board.
He's no longer the president, but he is on the board.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is such another good illustration of why you need to know what your governing documents contain and what your powers and authorities are and what they aren't.
Yeah. What's interesting here is that the board was so close to doing this right.
To doing the right thing?
Yes, because it says here that they were ready to have this brought before the homeowners.
Yeah, they said they notified all the unit owners that there was going to be a vote.
There was going to be a vote this last February 27th. Then, for the last minute, they withdrew the establishment of the meeting.
Yeah.
And who knows why, but because they did that, they took away what could have been something that would have been enforceable and would not have caused the association to be in court.
Yeah.
Would not have caused them to be sued. They were concerned because I think in the story here, let me read here, they did go forward and say to the homeowners that they wanted Bierman removed. They said, purportedly, because of receiving favored treatment and services from other vendors serving the property, and that was in violation of the board's code of ethics.
Okay. So it sounds like they didn't just do this out of meanness. They had a reason that they were concerned about this board member. It's just they didn't follow their own governing documents.
Yes, yeah. and that's the thing that is sad to see. I mean, we hate to see that in court. You know, when a lot of times people will see a criminal that they know has done something, but they get off because of what's called a technicality, right? Because someone didn't follow. Because someone didn't follow through.
You didn't read his Miranda rights.
And so you need to know what that is for the association too, because you'd hate to have something negated because of a technicality. Some of the big issues with an association to remember, not only removing a board member, how about updating your governing documents? You know, you need to have a certain majority of people to weigh in. If you don't do it specifically, how many times have people had a special meeting, but they didn't specify in the agenda what the meeting was about and what was going to be decided? You've seen the whole thing thrown out.
That's right.
Only because in their rush to want to get something to take place, and maybe for a good reason.
Sure.
They saw all of this negated.
Yeah. I have often seen, too, a special meeting is called for a specific purpose, but some other issue arises during that meeting, and you cannot talk about any other issue or make any decisions on any other issue if the special meeting was called for another purpose.
And that's hard because people get hot and under the collar about something, and it becomes an emotional thing.
Yeah.
I was this last week, went to a meeting, was asked to preside for an association. And if you were there and witnessed the meeting, the board members were cordial, respectful. There seemed to be no animosity among them whatsoever. Towards the end of the meeting, they got through with all of their business. They turned and they said, we would like to go into executive session now for just a few minutes. So they had a 2-minute recess. Other homeowners left. They came back, and one board member turned and said, I want to talk about the same thing as with Mr. Bierman. I'd like to talk about removing so-and-so from the board.
Wow.
And I'll tell you, I really appreciated the spirit in which everything took place, because even though there was a disagreement, there was nothing that was even said or even hinted at the meeting publicly with all the other people.
Right.
And the reason why is because this person who made the claim said, I'm making a claim that I want you, the board, to hear. I want this person to defend themselves, and I want everybody here to make a decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
And after the decision is made, that'll be final.
Yes.
Talk about a classy way of handling
That's very well disciplined. The boundaries are in place. They're following their governing documents. That's a perfect way to operate.
And above all else, there others in the homeowner association are not hearing all of this scuttlebutt and all of this this negative stuff that just allows for people to just run away with innuendos and with stories.
Gossip, discontent, yep.
All of that.
Yep.
So none of that took place because they took those steps. And next month when they get together after reviewing the information, they'll make the decision. I'm sure that whatever they decide will end up being the best decision for the association. Well, what's a good decision for us right now by looking at the clock is for us to take a quick break, but don't go away. We've got a whole nother hour of Where You Live. See you after this.